Okay, so this is where I left you in the battering process. You have this fully sketched out object, and we're gonna finish off the sketch. Click finish, and we're back to our solid home screen. So I'm gonna show you how to extrude. So you click extrude. I guess it already selected it, but you're gonna click this if it's not selected already. And let's make it an inch thickness. We can always change this too. So an inch in thickness, and boom, you have extruded object. And you may be wondering how I just orbited around. And again, middle mouse button right here. Oh, sorry. I don't. There's probably a name for this, but I call it middle mouse button. And if you hear me refer to it as middle mouse button, this is the thing I'm referring to. Uh, Click that middle mouse button. Hold it down. You want to hold it down. Press Shift at the same time, and then um, sorry, you have to click them simultaneously. So middle mouse button, Shift at the same time, and you're able to move your mouse left, right, up, down, and it will go in that direction you want it. And it gets a little, you have to get used to it a little bit and make sure you zoom in and pan, which is middle mouse button only, to get a good adjustment of where you want it and get a good feel. This just takes practice again, but gives you a good view of your 3D object. Um, and then go to top, and this gives you your exact view. So you may be wondering why this box is here. That's just because your image is here, but you can see in this left column, you can go to canvases. You can either hide this one or the whole thing. So if you do more canvases, you can just hide all at once. And now that you have your 2D object, you may be wondering, that's all for extrusion? And no, I'm going to teach you another tool you can do with extrusions, but this goes back to sketches. So now that you have an extruded object, you may be wondering, um, can I go back in time and edit this line right here? And yes, this is where your timeline comes in handy. You're going to go down to your timeline here and say, I want to see what the object looked like before I extruded it out. Sorry, before I made the sketch, you want to double click on your sketch right here, or you can right click. I think double clicking is faster, but edit sketch right here. And let's say I wanted to move this a little bit down. It will shift on this side because we mirrored it, but let's say I want it here, and I press finish sketch, and it will automatically change it within your extrusion, which is pretty nice. So another thing I'll teach you with your extrusion is if you want to make a secondary sketch on this plane, not just this plane back here, but the plane that you extruded out, you can. So I'm going to click it right here, and let's say I wanted to do an outline of this. We can do that with our offset tool. And you're going to click this whole thing, and let's say I want it on the inside, so I'm going to do negative. So negative 0.1 of an inch. And now that we have this outline of the object, we can press finish sketch, and you can extrude on the object you already extruded out. So you can click this, and let's say I wanted it to be sticking out. I can press the orbit tool just so I can see it with this arrow, or type it in. I typically like orbiting and using the arrow just to see what it'll look like and then typing it in, but personal preference again. And now that we have this outline, we add it to our object. The other thing you are able to do with the extrude tool is not only extrude, but you can actually extrude inwards, which will cut the object. So over here you have operation, and you can cut actually, or um, if you're in join and you go backwards, I'm pretty sure it'll automatically go to cut, but if it doesn't, you can just switch it here. And now that you cut here, you have just this outline of the battery. And then another thing you can do with extrude is just go halfway, and you have like a tray table, which is cool because I mean we can 3D print this in real life, and you have this table or this tray where you can put your objects, I guess, if you want. And final thing with the extrude is you can do extent type, and you can go to object, and if you want to extrude it all the way to here, it does it perfectly for you. And so you don't have this excess like sticking out. It knows perfectly to go the inch that we made it. And this comes in handy, for example, when you're making really big objects that need to be precisely cut at a certain plane, and it can do that for you, which is pretty cool. Um, those are the main two things. We don't really use intersect that much or new body, but it's pretty nice to know how to use this. So now that we have an outline, I'll show you going back in time. Let's say I want to change our outline again. Go back to our timeline, change this to negative 0.15, make it a little thicker, and we can do that. And here's our battering. But I'm going to teach you one more thing that I would say could fall under the extrusion category. I'm going to teach you how to modify. So there's a few tools in modify that we use the most. I would say fillet, I think that's how you say it, is what we use the most. We also have the shell tool, which can do the same thing that extrusion does, just I like extrusion better, to be honest, because extrusion has the whole thing, can do the whole thing, and has a little more use cases. We also have scale, which is pretty useful, but not really. Just CAD it correctly. Sometimes it comes in handy though. Move is very useful. Appearances we use a lot, but I'm just gonna teach you fillet for now. So let's say I wanted to make this not a rough edge, but a softened edge or flat curved edge. Sorry, curved edge. We can do that. And now we have this curved edge, and it looks very out of place just because there's only one. But if I wanted to do more than one at the same time, we can do that. And we can click fillet, click here, 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 here. I think that's pretty good for fillets, and then we're going to do 0.05. And, I mean, pretty cool. You can also do inward fillets, so any, and do a fillet that way, which is pretty cool. It just softens the edges. Another thing I can teach you how to do is just, let's go back in time. Let's say I wanted to go before I did these fillets, but not delete them. Just to see what it looked like, we can go back in time with this slider right here. And let's say I want to delete them. I just go back to where they are, click this one, click shift so I can do both at the same time, and then press the delete button on your keyboard. And I'm going to teach you the fillet. And what the fillet does, it's pretty, or chamfered, sorry, chamfered. It's pretty similar to a fillet, but it just makes a flattened edge, not a curved edge. And you can see that right here. And I prefer fillet, but again, personal preference. And I think that's pretty much all I'm going to teach you for extrusion. Again, you're just going to have to practice extrusions. And it's something you use a lot, so I'm not worried that you're not going to get a lot of practice. I'm not worried that you won't get enough practice with them, because as long as you're making objects, you're going to be using extrusion. And thank you for watching Unit 2, Section 2, and stick around for Unit 3. Thank you.